Alright, this is section AK, the miner and caver's emergency light. Now this is something that really I think is highly needed. I don't know for sure there's not something like this out on the market, but again, it was a product that I decided to go ahead and throw in here anyway because it was honestly faster just to draft up and put into the PPA I was already working on, the provisional patent I was already working on, than to do, a bunch of patent research on it. So I figured I'd present it to somebody like you, and we can go from there, because you're going to need to run, a patent search anyway, just part of your due diligence. You should anytime anybody walks in your door offering you any IP of any kind, whether it's an issued patent or a provisional patent or a patent application that's been filed. Even if it's been on the market for a little while, you should still do your due diligence. So I just figured the best thing for me to do was just to assume that it's free and run with it. Now this is something I talk extensively about. I do not have a prototype of this invention, but if you watch the Watch Me Third Important video, that will discuss this in much, much greater depth. This is a copy of the PDF, which is a copy of this section of the provisional patent application, because I've got, a good 87 inventions in this provisional patent in its entirety, or distinguishable marketable products anyway, and 39 selling sections. So this is one selling section, containing this one product. But this little product, basically, this version runs off 9-volt batteries, but you can run it off other batteries if you want. It's got a little clip on it, and basically it's a little flashlight, and it's got a button on it and a little side switch on it. Now the button, is the main button. This is a toggle push button. Now, of course, when this button is off, there's no light coming from the thing, but when it's on, there's a very dim amount of light coming from it, set to a pretty low current, like a tenth of a microamp or so. But these LEDs that are out there today, even at current levels like that, put out an astonishing amount of light, even at super low current levels. And what that means is super long battery life. That's what it translates into. So if you're a miner and you're caught in a cave-in, or a caver and you're lost in a cave, having a light like this on you is a lifesaver. I mean, basically, this battery will last long enough, to where you're going to die before your light does. And frankly, if I'm a caver or miner, if your light dies before you do, you're dead. You're freaking dead. Particularly if you're a caver, you're just so dead it's not even funny. Gone will be all hope if your light dies on you. And this way, the idea is to make it as waterproof and everything as possible. Again, you may want to use different switches and so forth than I have here, but make it a light where honestly it can go anywhere. And like I said, when that switch is toggled, it's in dim mode. And like I said, that ensures that you want to have it to where it's running at a rate where the battery on this thing will last at least a month. Basically, that's what lighting level you want to drive it at. So whatever current that tends to work out to, when you do your calculations. But then it does have this little side switch that if you need more light for some reason, you can push this in. It's a momentary button, but it'll run it at much higher power levels, like say 8 or 10 milliamps. But when you release the button on it, it's back to dim mode. But you'd be surprised how much light these things put out in a totally dark environment. Now, I can imagine a caving expedition where several buddies in there have these. Between the lot of them, that's actually going to light out their area to where at least they're not totally dark, and you can see around in the dark quite nicely with this thing, even in dim mode like that. Now, it is possible, and I don't have a problem with this, if you wanted to make this button a two-way toggle, where it has a super dim setting, that lasts at least a month, if not more, and then another setting that lasts at least, say, 2 or 3 weeks, but it's a little brighter. But still, to get it up to high brightness, they need to push this button, which is temporary. I wouldn't have a problem with that. But the point is, you want to try to enforce them you know, for long battery life, because when you're in a survival situation like that, you know, you're just screwed, you know, if you don't have any light. And this is trying to force them to be conservative with how they use their light. And that's why it makes a good caver light. It's even a good survivalist light too, for that same reason. I mean, it's something that you can have with you, and it'll last you, you know, in the dark. So it's better to have some light than no light at all. And again, if you're in a totally dark situation, I mean, this provides more than enough light for you to not step in a hole or fall off a ledge or, you know, whatever. You know, it does. So, because like I said, these newer LEDs are so potent that, you know, they actually perform quite well on very, very, very small amounts of current. So again, like I said, that means heavy battery life. And like I said, it'll have a little clip on it, so you can clip it to your lapel or whatever you need to carry it around with you. But you know, I can imagine a whole bunch of miners, like was, you know, caught in you know, South America a few years back, you know, having lights like this, you know, all attached, you know, a dozen miners or more, you know, could have these lights. And again, between them, it's actually going to be quite a bit of light, you know, when they're in camp mode. And then even when they're walking around, you know, it's something. And like I said, if you're in pitch black, this actually is more than enough light, you know, where you're not going to stub your toe on anything. I know that. So, you know, this spawned out of other research and other product developments that I have in this PPA, you know, that involve real low current use of LEDs. So, but again, this is a type of product that really could save a lot of people's lives. I mean, it really is a nice little product, and it's not, you know, expensive to tool up on. You just want to make sure it's sufficiently waterproof, and that's about it. But it's not, you know, too terribly expensive to tool up on. So, but it could save a lot of people's lives, and this could become standard issue, you know, as part of government regulations or whatnot for all miners. It could even be a worldwide phenomena. So, you know, that's one of those things that, you know, honestly, the cost to develop and manufacture this is really trivial. I mean, I could 3D print something like this, you know, as a basic prototype, but I'm just out of money and out of time. Again, a long story. You know, I'm sure I've provided details in the main videos, you know, about my history and everything like that. So if you want to know what kind of a hardship I've been through, you know, understand that. But I mean, like I said, I do have thousands of product ideas, and this is one of them. And I'm finally in the market of trying to liquidate these. I've been accumulating ideas like this for, like I said, over 25 years. So, like I said, I don't know if you're, you know, a safety equipment company that's listening to this, or, you know, or whoever. But the fact of the matter is, this does have some real potential. Or if you're Energizer, or Stanley Tool, or whoever, it does have some real potential. Hell, maybe even you know, Academy Sports or somebody like that might be interested in something like this, because like I said, it still is a good survivalist product too. You know, campers and stuff like that should carry these things. Of course, if you're going to do that, I'd like to build a little radio transmitter into it too, where you can push a button, you know, where it'll send out a little beacon or something anytime you push it. So, but not continuously, just anytime you push it. So it's like a radio frequency flare. That would be a nice little addition to put into this. If you're going to make it for campers and stuff, is what I'm saying, or for people that are lost at sea, you know, that would be a nice product to have, you know, for, you know, standard issue equipment, and, you know, for, you know, the safety equipment for boats and so forth. So anyway, the point is, this product's got a lot of merit. I think it could do a lot of good for people, and I think, you know, some money can be made out of it in the process too, you know, because this isn't, you know, the type of product you want to build, you know, in a fairly good quality way, and you know, certainly justify, you know, a retail price of, you know, well, however much you might want to retail it for, because again, if it's part of miners' equipment or whatever, I mean, geez, it could be $30 a piece. You know, whatever, you know, you want. As a caver's light, though, it could be cheaper. But I think it, you know, certainly has some potential, you know, some real potential to help people. So anyway, I thank you for your time. Be sure to watch the final video on this, though, the Watch Me Last important video. And And here's a little CAD file, by the way, too, of how the thing kind of looks. You can see the top here, this little part here, it should be a translucent material, and these cones on it are designed in such a way where you use the right beam angle LEDs with this, like 55-degree lamps, for example, and these cones will catch a lot of the side lobe radiation off that light, and diffuse it like a lantern. So it'll kind of help it a little bit, when it's being used. They're sitting around their campsite or whatever, or wherever they're huddled up. It'll provide some side illumination too, so it's not just directional like a flashlight, but it does provide directionality like a flashlight, out of the tips of the LED. And again, you can change the design of this cone in such a way that it catches either more or less of that radiation. So again, you'd probably want to catch even more than what I have here, just so that it does a good job, but it still gives you enough to have a forward casted light in the end, but also captures enough of it to kind of spread it out laterally. And of course, a little spring-loaded alligator clip, and the batteries are accessed by a little friction fit rubberized piece on the back, like you see over here. What the piece of junk. Anyway, like you see here, so you got that to consider. It's a pretty simple little product that could save a lot of lives, and it's really not going to be very expensive to tool up on. So anyway, I appreciate your time, and be sure to watch the final video.